Please return to your seat. Hi. I'm Ceci.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So your claim is that women will be happier at home. I think you're conflating, though, happiness with importance, because I get what you're saying, where a woman can write a book and have kids, but the kids are always going to make her happier. But I think it just means that kids are always going to be more important, not necessarily make you happier. But also piggybacking on Naima, we don't live in an economy where people typically can have a one-income household,
Right.
whether it be the mom or dad that stays home. And so I think, and you keep bringing up the 1950s, which
Because it was right before the fact.
I just don't know if that's the period of time that you want to go back to.
No, it's just, I'm just going back to the first wave of feminism.
But you want to undo progress that's been done. So I'm curious as to what decade you'd be comfortable living in, especially as a Black woman.
Okay, so we're gonna park aside the race politics because I want to focus on.
Okay, then as a woman, what period of time do you want to go back to?
Just as a woman, I think that it was probably a better environment for women when we understood that raising our children was.
I heard the 60s were fun and the 70s. I heard life was great in the 70s. I think that's what I would pick because actually I like today, but I've heard I would have loved to have been around before social media and just see what life was like back then.
Fulfilling.
But some women still do.
But I want air conditioning, so you know what I mean?
You understand that.
Right. And
a lot of women
and I'm one of them.
And I'm here advocating for you to be able to live the life that you want and for other women to be able to live the lives they want.
Do you have children?
No.
Okay. You have a career, I presume?
Yeah.
Okay. What do you work at? What field do you work in?
I do hair.
Okay. Wonderful. So I have both children and a career, as somebody pointed out. And so the fact that I'm saying that you will be infinitely more fulfilled at the end of the day by raising your children than you will be if you come home and you say, wow, I really crushed it dying.
Right. But it's like I can watch what you say or watch what you do. I did an event with Candace. I was kind of starstruck. It's kind of weird sometimes when you see people like you've seen on screen. I did an event with her. And it was like a month after she had her kid. Like, what are you doing? Flying to Amsterdam?
Somebody's hair today. What is it exactly that makes you angry about hearing that? Like, that's what I'm actually trying. I'm trying to get to the implicit revolution.
That's the thing is that no one
when
is
someone
angry.
mentions children.
No, see, no one's angry when you mention children. I get angry, I guess, when you mention that someone should have a children or you're trying to impose a lifestyle.
What is she arguing? She's saying, I don't want to have kids with a beta. All my ex-boyfriends are beta. I don't want to do it. I don't. And Candace, because the older women will tell you this, have kids with a beta. Have kids with a beta. No, I don't want to have kids with, that's the argument going, they don't realize it, but that's the argument.
Style onto people that you want to live, which I think is kind of funny because as someone who's anti-feminism, you practice it more than most women do. I mean, every time you get on your podcast.
Pearl, would you say no-fault divorce was a symptom of a deeper cultural shift that had already started undermining men's roles, family, and society, or was it the real turning point? So I had a child support officer on the show, or I don't know his official job title. Thank you for the super chat, by the way. You guys are being super generous today. My understanding is that there was a lot of requests for no-fault divorce already, and that there was a lot of people separated and not divorced, so it was just kind of like a formality. And that matches up with what I know about like my family, like the grandparents and great-grandparents. A lot of people didn't, like they were just separated. And I really think all of this is just nature correcting itself because most men didn't get to produce historically. So now women, and then they enforced monogamy because it gets too violent if like the bottom third of men are sexless. So then it gets violent. So the people in charge were like, okay, we need monogamy. And the women were like, no. The women are like, we won't be straddled down with betas. And this is what we got.
Every time you collect a check, you're practicing feminism.
Okay, that's what you think.
No, that's what it is. Because
actually-
without feminism, you wouldn't be able to exist.
Yeah, people keep saying, I hate when people say that.
But it's
because
just the
it
truth.
just shows that you haven't done the research to even understand where the feminism
Or you don't know
came from,
history.
which was discovered. That's what I'm saying about you, because it means
There was always female anti-feminist writers, though, always.
that you don't understand that a bunch of government officials in the CIA funded the feminist movement. So for all of your hatred for the patriarchy,
I'm so confused.
and
So
speaking
my
about
question
men,
is it bad that they funded it or bad that it just happened?
Men wanted women to go into the workforce. The government, which had a lot of men, it was being
Are
run
you
by
talking about
men.
because World War II occurred and we had to
No,
go
I'm
to
talking-
factories, and then when we left the factories, they forced us back into the homes?
That's not what I'm saying at all. So let me tell you what I'm saying, and then you can respond to it.
Go for it.
Gloria Steinem is considered to be a feminist icon, right? Because she led these protests. She also had a bunch of music festivals. She got students involved. It is just a fact that Gloria Steinem was funded by the CIA, okay? The CIA, being the male-dominated CIA of the 50s and the 60s, funded those movements. So what do you think was the explicit aim? Do you think it was because the government really wanted you to be more free, that they wanted to encourage women to enter
Well, I have to be honest with you, I couldn't speak on behalf of the government.
Okay.
You know,
The women nagged them into it in their lives. Guarantee it. Some guy's woman just nagged.
I mean, and what their intention
Well, I think it's important
was
because you
with
just said that I don't know history. And I think it's pretty important if you're going to sit across from me and say, I don't know history, that you
Yeah,
learn a
but-
piece of history and then question as
You keep bringing up men, and I think it's funny because we should talk about men more. Like you brought up suicide, they're 4 times more likely to kill themselves.
which is why I don't
And while
believe-
women, we're twice as more often on antidepressants, but that's because we go out and do what we need to do to keep coping.
because we're not happy.
And we need to focus on men and the patriarchy because it's actually oppressed them just as much as women now emotionally, right? Because when we're kids, our parents teach us how to cross the street. Look both ways so you can get the other side unharmed. When a boy comes across a feeling, and I'm using men and boys here because they're the ones suffering, women are too, but emotionally. When they come across a feeling they haven't felt before, we have to teach them how to get to the other side and cope with it. Otherwise, they stay where they are. That anger and resentment builds. That's the feeling they become most comfortable with. That's the feeling they go to first in most situations.
right,
So we need to
pause.
stop telling our boys that they don't cry because they do. They just do it alone, and then they become even more alone.
You're fat.
All right. Jasmine,
to meet you.
nice to meet you. Okay, so you say that women are more fulfilled at home with kids than going out into the workforce or getting educated, but that just really doesn't bear out when you look at the stats, when you look at how working mothers are way less likely to be in poverty. Maternal education is the #1 predictor of childhood outcomes, better scores, getting higher incomes in the future, fewer behavioral problems, better mental health. So it's weird to me and college educated women are least likely to get divorced, and they're the only women, the top 10% of women are the only women whose marriage rates are going up. So they're getting married, they're staying married, and their kids are doing better. When you look at stay-at-home mothers, you see that they're more likely to report being depressed, they're more likely to report having anxiety and anger and all these types of things. So how can you say that?
She won't be speak for the government, but she will speak for men. SMH.
Seems like a woman, if you want to get married and have kids, you should go to college and have a career.
So it sounds to me like we are looking at totally different statistics, because everything that you said, I've actually read the exact opposite.
I'm glad we're on.
Let's not talk about, like, I do studies because I have to. Like, it's part of my job. I can't just not use studies. But let's talk about what we see in real life. What do you see? Are women unhappy? I don't see young women being unhappy. I see old women unhappy when they can't get the attention from alphas anymore. That's who I see. That's when women crash out.
On a fact check show with you.
Right, exactly.
Oh, it's so exciting.
That's going to be amazing. Okay. Because I know, like I said, I think what we're talking about is that there was this widespread report on
When did this girl get fat? My God.
female happiness, and I know that it was formally debunked, and it was
That's not what I'm talking about. Pew Research,
Right.
University of
Okay.
California. In fact, working mothers today spend more time with their children than women did in the 1960s that were at home.
Okay, well, women that are at home are obviously spending more time with their children than the people who are at work.
And their
today.
children are not faring off any better,
Right.
and they're faring off worse.
How are you measuring their children faring off worse?
How likely they are to higher incomes, better scores, fewer health problems, fewer behavioral issues, and better mental.
So the just to get back to the claim that I'm making here is that it is obvious that women who have children are going to be more fulfilled.
How is
right?
that obvious? Because you said so?
No, it's not obvious because I said so. It's because when you look.
Candace is getting kind of tripped up. They're kind of, I mean, it's tough. It's a tough environment having like 20 people yell at you and just take shots. The way I would have handled that is just say, look, for the purpose of this debate, I am awful. I am a bad person. Can we move on to the topics and the studies? Like that is how I would handle it. I would say, look, I understand. I am a hypocrite. I am a bad person. I get it. You guys don't like me. Can we move on? That's what I would say. That's how I would do it.
Look at all the statistics in terms of women who are choosing not to have families. They are, as the person who just sat here before you mentioned, they are suffering from more depression. They're suffering from more anxiety. And
that's not true.
Okay, it is true. It is actually true that women who are choosing their careers over starting families are finding themselves leaning more onto medicines like Xanax, anxiety-inducing medicines, and depression because they suspended that time frame where women really should be looking to find a partner and to start a family because they were instead pursuing their careers.
And why are they better off?
It is a dishonest.
Women don't like men that much. Men drive us crazy. They annoy us. It's because we hate things that we can't control. We can control children. We can control the narrative. We can control the media. We can control the workforce. We can control our income to some extent. But we can't control men. Men are uncontrollable. And that's why it drives women crazy.
It's totally a dishonest narrative that men and women want the same things out of life. We don't. We absolutely do not want the same things out of life. In fact, we don't even measure success the same. Men and women don't even measure success the same.
So,
okay?
but tell me how the women who are working and getting educated, why are they faring off better in all of these?
I am telling you that I do not believe they are faring off better in all of these measures.
Because of what?
I am telling you that we are looking at totally opposite statistics. So you're sitting here telling me that the statistics show that women who are working are producing better children. But I am saying that women that grow up in a two-family home where the mother stays at home are faring off better than the children who are being raised in an environment
where the women are working,
where both of the parents are working away from the home. I do get to work from home.
No. But
that's the irony.
I've watched your show. You talk about all the nannies you hire, and it's so hard to find.
I've heard from people in the industry she has a lot of nannies. Don't know if that's true, but that's what I've heard.
I never talked about all of the nannies I hire.
Yeah, you have.
I spoke about how difficult it was to find a babysitter who knew how to cook a meal.
But so now Candace is entering into her frame. Candace should have dismissed it. What would I have said? I would have said, you talk about all the nannies you hire. Yeah, 1 million nannies, 1,000, 100,000, or you just dismiss, you move on. She's defending herself. And this is something I had to internally look at. Why do you feel the need to defend yourself? To an OnlyFans model. Your butt is on the internet. I don't have to. That's maybe what would you put in the chat? What would you tell Candace to overcome this objection? I would either agree and amplify. So, you just say, yep, I'm the worst mother ever. I'm a terrible person. So can we just move on? Or I would go a different route and say, let me think. Let me listen to the rest.
Meal. And that's because
you don't need a babysitter. You could retire right now.
You have to let people respond to you when they're speaking.
You don't want to
respond to you when
No, you don't want to. You want to be working, which is great.
You're telling me what I want now.
That's true. I mean, her husband's worth 180 million. She doesn't need to be doing this, but she's choosing to put herself in politics, which will affect her career with her kids. Yeah, which is fine. I'm not saying she shouldn't. I'm saying it's not what she's selling.
And then accusing me of telling you.
Wait, you don't want to work?
Can you just let me finish? Because you've said so many words that what you're trying to do here, your argument style, is I'm going to say so much and not let her get a word in and then walk away and feel like I've won. We're not having a conversation because you've not letting me respond to one of your points.
Go for it.
Okay. What I am saying to you, first to answer what you just said, which was a lie, what I spoke to you about on the weekends is that it's been increasingly difficult to find a 25-year-old who even knows how to make boxed macaroni and cheese, right? And that's crazy. And that is in large part due to feminism. Women don't even focus. Like there's this idea.
It's not really feminism. It's Uber Eats. That's really it.
Yeah, that women shouldn't be cooking. Like there's something fundamentally wrong with women even learning how to cook.
Are you
know what I
spending
mean?
as much time with your children as you possibly can? Because that's the way to get the most fulfillment.
No, and that's what I'm trying to say. I am speaking to you
So
as—
then stop.
Okay, could you please let somebody get in
I did.
a word
I
edgewise?
let you finish.
You're not. You
I
actually
did.
have not let anybody finish. And like I said,
absolutely have.
it's no one benefits when you're just speaking over me and not allowing me to respond. All you're proving is that you have an attitude and you—
So again, I would have dismissed it. Let's get back to the topic. And now, like, you can't, by saying, oh, now she, that's why I think Jasmine actually won this, because Candace keeps entering into her frame.
leaving
you address the
feminism,
point now?
but you're not. See, that's what I'm saying. You just have an attitude, and it's not
Trying
cute.
to-
It's performative.
I'd love if
I'm
you
actually
address my point. I will be quiet if you address my point.
Does anybody actually feel here that I am being allowed to address any of her points when she just keeps running over me? Like I'm literally trying to answer
Everybody
your
said yes.
first point of you saying that I don't stay at home.
Yeah,
Fair
that was
point.
really weird. Yeah.
Fair point. Obviously, I get that you're all anti-Candace and pro-feminist, but also it's not productive if you're—
Oh, that's a great response. Candace should pay us for this. Thank you. $5 super chat. What she is doing for her culture war shtick is for her kids, so they won't date gynocentric nut jobs. We all know it's not, but that's a great response. Do you know what I mean?
you're not actually—
Okay, address the point. You spend more time saying that I'm not addressing, that you don't have a chance to talk. I mean, the whole time you could have addressed the point. You could have talked.
I
So go for it.
just want you to know that you're not coming across as somebody who wants to actually have a conversation. So to get back to the claim, because I don't even know where you're at. You're now talking, you're saying that I said stuff in my podcast.
I'll go wherever you want to
that
go.
I never said.
I'll go wherever
So do you
you
want to
wanna go.
start with me working at home? Because I work at home. You just said something about me working
You
at home.
travel all around the world.
Okay,
you do speeches, and I love that. I love how ambitious
Okay.
you are. That's a
Yes.
really great trait. And if you were truly said that, you would be more fulfilled. Now, one thing you do find is women, they don't want to stay at home when you pull them. They just want flexible working hours and flexible working conditions like you have. And I think we should all advocate for that. It's not one or the other. But when you sit here and you go, you'll be more fulfilled doing this and spend all your time doing
Yes.
that, we would love for you to leave the public eye and go focus on what makes you fulfilled.
Okay.
She cooked. It's pretty embarrassing. That was a great response. If you had anything else that she should have added, it's tough. It's a personal attack. But that's what happens when you use your kids to build your brand. I had a public relationship once, and I regret it with everything in me. Making it public, you know what I mean? It's just, yeah, you don't want to do that. That's why I'm kind of iffy when I talk about like my personal life, because people just use it to weaponize it against you. And you learn this when you get into media. But yeah, if you cosplay trad and you're like putting on your Instagram stories, you cooking for your husband and stuff, yeah, that's what you get.